All right, welcome everyone. This is the 12th episode of the Do No Evil, Speak No Evil show, where I interview awesome individuals making a positive local impact. I'm your host, Blair Neher, aka the Chief Primate. Today's my guest is Paris Robinson. Paris is a local Richmonder with an incredible comeback story, which has led him to a motivational speaking career. So thanks for coming on the show today, Paris.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. So once again, as usual, we got to give a big shout out to our host, Optima Med, who's let us use their facility for the show. Optima Med provides college admissions and financial aid coaching for students, with the end game being attendance at the best fit college at an affordable price, leading to the right career. So thanks, Tom Leahy and Optima Med. All right, man, let's get into it. So first things first, I usually like to get right into people's story, but today's a little different because so much of what we have to talk about is your story. So much of your message is about your story and, you know, the path you've gone through, or gone down rather. So where you came from, the path you went down, where it led you, and kind of how you rose up. Mm-hmm. So let's get into the guts, man. So what part of Richmond are you from, and just about when did you come up?
I'm from Highland Park, Richmond. It's like in the north side. Mm-hmm. And I came up during the hip-hop era, when hip-hop was really first taking, getting presence in the United States, with the Big Daddy Kane and the Rakims and
Eric B.
Eric B. I come up in that area. I also come up in the cocaine era. When cocaine first made its like mark in the inner cities, and different, instead of California and New York, it trickled down to southern states, and I come up in that era.
Right on. So I moved to Virginia in '89, and then to Richmond in like '91, '92, and it's kind of the same time frame we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And I was warned, Richmond's a tough town. People get murdered all the time. Don't go here. Don't go there. Yeah. And so I was from Orlando, which is, not a perfect city, but I came to a city that was in pretty rough shape. So that's the same time frame we're talking about.
Yeah, and during that time and into the early 90s, that's when Richmond was the number one murder rate, in the country.
Yeah.
It's not Virginia, but Richmond.
Yeah.
So that was a rough time.
Absolutely. So you came up, where'd you go to high school?
John Marshall.
Right on.
Yeah.
So you played ball in high school, right?
I didn't actually play ball in high school. I played JV basketball.
Okay.
But I didn't play like varsity or anything like that.
Okay, right on. So let's talk about when you get out of high school. Kind of what were your options, and what kind of path did those options lead you down?
Well, when I was in high school, let me go back to middle school.
Absolutely.
When I was in middle school and before then, my dreams was always to be a sports figure, right? Either basketball or football. That was my dreams. And when I actually got into high school, I kind of knew that wasn't going to be an option for me, because when you're in high school, you have way better players that come from all over the city. And you're not the starter. You're not the star as you probably once was when you was playing, basketball with your neighborhood friends.
Right on.
Right. And so it was during that time that I was like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I knew that I wasn't going to do any hard work. I tip my hat off to those that do hard work, but that just wasn't for me. I'm not saying that I'm not a hard worker. Right? I just knew that wasn't, any plans for me. So right after high school, during that summer, that's when I got involved in selling cocaine. Mm-hmm. But I sold marijuana a little bit in school, But once I got out of high school, that's when, because I had a lot of time on my hand, and I, got to go around the neighborhood and frequent different spots and see guys that was what we used to call on the come up, right? That
Mm-hmm.
was, starting out, and then next thing you know, they had bloomed and they was getting the cars and the jewelries and the girls and, getting a little neighborhood fame, and I wanted some of that.
Yeah. Right on. So let's talk about you ending up in a wheelchair. So this path ended up. So let's talk about that. So if anybody that's not listening, you are obviously wheelchair bound.
Yeah.
And have been since when?
1997.
1997. So what happened, man? Let's get into all that. Kind of how we got to you end up getting shot, the drugs and jail time, stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. First, let me tell you a little bit about me coming up as a child. Right. When I was coming up, I was what they call a latchkey kid. Right. My mother worked, so when I got home from school, right, she was at work, so I used to go around the neighborhoods and see different things, and it was during that time where, well, let me say this: I had a wonderful mother, right? I'm not the one to say that we went without water or lights, or my mother provided very well for me and my brother. And this was not designed, like coming up for me to choose this lifestyle, because I had opportunities. I was smart in school. I was athletic, and I had a mother that she was behind me. She had my back for whatever reason it was. She was supportive, right? It's just that the choices I made once I got older, right, and I started going out of the house. I started going around the corners and going to different neighborhoods, and I got attracted. I saw what I liked, and I got attracted to it.
Got some exposure.
Oh yeah, and I would say I got involved in it, and I figured that if I did it this way, right, if I do it differently than what the next man had done it, because I had seen the mistakes that they were making out there, but I thought that I was going to be the one that was going to do it different. I thought that I was going to be the one to get away, right? And it presented itself. It was what I call a lie. It presented itself very well. It was very attractive, right? And what had happened to me, I started getting involved in drugs. Right? I always smoked weed and did a little bit of drinking, but after high school is when I started getting into heroin, and I got into heroin, and for a while it was okay. It was okay. I still was able to maintain. I was still able to dress nice, keep a nice car, jewelry, nice girl.
Functioning.
Yeah. But eventually, like I would tell people that when you're involved in a drug game, when you're involved in certain criminal activities, there's two things that are guaranteed to happen, and that's locked up or death. Whichever way it comes, you might escape death by getting locked up, or you might escape getting locked up by getting killed. Right? But there are two things that's guaranteed that's going to happen, and you never see that. You never see that side, or if you do, you always be like, that's not going to happen to me.
It won't be me.
Yeah, because I'm gonna do it different. I'm
gonna be smart about it.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it this way. I'm not going to do it that way. But that system is not designed for you to be successful and retire. That's just a lie that's wrapped up. It's just a well-dressed lie. That we as youth buy into.
Yeah, because of what the attractive, benefits are on the other side.
Yeah, because when I first started using drugs and selling drugs, I never thought that I would be the one that would be getting shot 4 times in the chest, in the middle of the street, praying to God for my life. I never thought that would happen to me. And if I had seen that in the beginning, then I wouldn't have done it, right? But excuse me, but I didn't see it because I was probably thought I was smarter than or slicker than, and I was gonna be the one to get away. Yeah,
I think that's probably a pretty common thought. It ain't gonna be me.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a denial.
Yeah, and that's why I tell kids today, or inner city youth, right, especially in particular, right, be careful of the decisions that you make today, because they could affect you for the rest of your life. It could be a life-threatening decision that you make today, And you never know when death gonna come. You know, I mean, nobody wanna stand in line and cut the line for death. You know, but just be careful of the decisions you make and the choices you make. You know, because there are consequences, and you will have to pay them.
So that's all right. So you started using as well as selling.
Yeah.
And did that eventually? I mean, did those two paths kind of collide where you were using too much to stay on your game, or I mean, how did that all end up?
Well, for me, it was a pattern that I see now that I look back on, because I always wanted to belong. I always wanted to fit in, right? I didn't want to be like the outside guy, right, or the ones that was cast or getting made fun of. You know, and that go all the way back to me playing sports. I always wanted to be on the winning basketball team. I always wanted to be on the winning football team. So when I saw that guys, you know, at my age and stuff, they was smoking weed and drinking, I wanted to be a part of that, and I wanted to fit in, right? I wanted to fit in because it looked like it was the norm at the time, and it looked like everybody was doing it, and they was having fun and laughing, and I wanted to be a part of that. And that trickled over to when I got into the drug game, right? Guys was snorting heroin, you know, smoking joints laced with cocaine, you know, and drinking. And, you know, that looked cool because that's what some of the cool kids was doing. And I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be a part of that crowd, right? And that's how it kind of like lured me. That was one of the attractions that lured me into that.
Mm-hmm. So did it? I mean, I guess my question was, did it end up coming back to bite you, doing both at the same time?
Oh yeah, it came back to bite me because I ended up going to penitentiary.
Is that before you got shot?
Yeah, that was before I got shot. I ended up going to penitentiary on a possession charge. I did 3.5 years in the state penitentiary, you know, and then, you know, like I was telling another friend of ours, that once I got in the penitentiary, it seemed like it was what you would call a reunion, because some of the guys that I hadn't seen in 10 years, right, was in prison. Some of the guys that I hadn't forgot all about was in prison. Some of my family members was in prison. So when I went to prison, it was like I knew a lot of people that was in there, you know, because we was all involved in the same lifestyle at that time, right? So once I got in there, and the thing about prison for me was when I got in prison, you know, I worked out. I watched a lot of TV. You know, I did a lot of physical things, right? And it didn't do anything for me once I got out, because I was trying to work on how I looked, right? And how when you saw me, how, you know, I presented myself with a bulk and physical and look good. So when I came home, people were like, oh, he look good. You know, you see the muscles, and, you know, so that's all I actually worked on while I was in, and told old war stories, you know.
Right on. Probably updated people.
Yeah, and then
here's the latest and the greatest, and you got it yourself.
Yeah, and then got, you know, upgraded on when the next one came in, you know, and they told me about what I was missing and who was doing what, and, you know, it was just a revolving circle, a revolving door, you know.
So you get out, what happens?
I get out, and when I move, well, when I didn't move, when I go back home, my neighborhood had changed. It had went from the cocaine epidemic to the heroin epidemic. Heroin was like major in where I lived at, and you couldn't go every house on a block, somebody was selling heroin, and not mostly, everybody that was selling it, I knew them, you know, and I was real good friends with them. So it didn't take no time for me to, when I came home, right? And I told you I wasn't working on anything in the inside. I was just working on physical appearances. So it didn't take no time for me to come in and just get right back in the game, you know, because soon as when I came home, you know, and that's a lot of times where guys come home, they get right back into the same crowd, and they go right back to doing the same thing, right? But they be expecting different results, but that don't change. You do the same thing, you're gonna get the same results. And I would say a lot of my associates at that time, they didn't know any better. They didn't know. So what they thought they was doing by helping me was giving me heroin. You know, it's like, here, you can get on your feet with this, you know, or here, you can have a good time with this, because that's probably what was done to them, you know. But they didn't know. They thought they was helping me when they was actually harming me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't know no better themselves if they're on that same path.
Yeah, you know, if you in that life, you know, when you give somebody something like that, you think you helping them, right?
Yeah. So what happens after that? Take us down the timeline.
When I came home, it didn't take long for me to start using again. I started using, and it got people started getting locked up in our neighborhood, you know, and the money started dwindling down, and then it started affecting my pocket, right? So the ones that I used to hang out with, right, the ones that I was so-called my friends at that time, we kind of split. And now you know, not only do they gotta look out for me, but I gotta look out for them, because they got dope habits, right? And they want money too. So not only do I have to look out for the police, right? Not only do I have to look out for the guys that's coming in the neighborhood and rob, I have to look out for the guys that I used to say was my friends that would you know, shoot me in the back. And it just got to the point, man, where, you know, you couldn't trust nobody, couldn't nobody trust you, you know. And one day I was just in an incident, man, and like, I don't go into the details over it.
Yeah, you don't need to.
You know, getting the specifics, but I was going up the street, and two guys, man, just came out and just shot me 4 times in my chest, right? 2 times I was standing up, and then when I fell on the ground, guy just stood over top of me and shot me 2 more times in my chest.
Good grief.
Yeah, and then just walked off. And at the time when that was happening, I just was putting my hand over my face, right? Because I didn't want him to shoot me in my face, right? Because I knew that if I was in the same position that he was in, what I would have done, but he didn't do it. And when he didn't do it and he ran off, I was just thinking to myself, please God, don't let me die like a dog in the street. I just couldn't imagine myself dying, because I was in the street and I was rolling and I was in the gutter, and I just couldn't imagine myself dying like that.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Yeah. Because I know, man, that would have hurt my mother so much, right, to have to see her son, you know, body in the middle, in the gutter. You know, I knew my daughter, I didn't want my daughter or my son to have to live with that, because they was with my mother when I had gotten shot, right? And that's one thing, when we make decisions, right, some of the choices that we make affect our loved ones so dearly that we hurt them so much, and we don't realize it, right, that what we doing, you know, how it affect them. Because it used to affect my mother. When my mother tell me, I'm so glad you got locked up, because at least I can sleep good at night. I ain't got to worry about nobody calling and saying you got shot or you got killed.
Oh, man.
You know, and that's my mother telling her son that. You know, but I understood that. I understand that today. You know, but I was like, wow. You know, am I causing my mama all this stress and all this harm? You know, yeah, man.
So what happens? Somebody finds you, called 911.
Yeah,
and you make it to the hospital.
Well, when I had gotten shot and I end up rolling up on the sidewalk. A friend of mine was riding down the street, and he happened to see me laying out there. So he pulled over, and him and another guy, they threw me in the car, and they took me to the hospital. Once I got to the hospital, instead of us going through the emergency room, we had to go through the front door. And it was a doctor. He had just came in there. He was he had just left the Iraq, I think it was the Iraq war, right? And he had to do a class to show these doctors in there a new procedure on how to do take care of gunshot victims, right? He was one of the head trauma doctors in the United States. Right? And
he just happened to be there.
He just happened, right? And at the time it was like coincidence, right? And but I had to, like today when I look back, I know that there was no such thing as a coincidence. It was no coincidence that my friend just happened to pull up, you know, exactly after I had gotten shot, because they said if I would have had to wait for the ambulance, I would have died. When we get to the hospital, instead of us going through the emergency room, we go through the front door, and it's a doctor that's the head of his field leaving out of the hospital, and he the one that do the surgery on me. Even when I get in the hospital, and they had to cut my stomach, half my stomach out, my spleen, my pancreas erupted. They had to cut some of my intestines out. They had to leave some bullets in me because it was too close to the spinal cord. And my stomach, something happened in my stomach, and my stitches popped. And it just so happened when they popped, and I was in the hospital, and I was in my bed throwing up blood, it was a team of doctors making their rounds coming through the door of my room. Right? That was no coincidence, you know. That's just something divinely that was just happening at that time.
God or the universe or whatever. It
has to be whatever you choose to call it. I choose to call it God, right? And I'm a true believer in that, and that's why I have to give credit to credit due instead of keep saying, "Oh, this was a coincidence." Coincidence don't happen like that.
No, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
You know, there's some kind of path out there for all of us, whether you believe where that comes from or not.
Yeah, and I'm not like a religious guy, but I'm a very spiritual guy, right? And I do believe in the law of the universe. I do believe in a supreme being. You know, we might difference on, you know, what you name it or what I name it, but that's really don't even make no difference. You know, to me, you know, you have your own personal relationship with whatever you choose to believe, and I have my own personal relationship.
Absolutely.
Right, and if I believe what I believe, it don't make me wrong. You know, if what's making me a better person today, it's definitely not what's wrong. You know?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that, and I think it's a lot of what humans claim to know is presumptuous.
Yeah.
It's presumptuous to know that you know this is what happened and this is what didn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's written down, but so are a lot of other things that are, you know, whatever. It's presumptuous to say this is the absolute.
Yeah.
And I love your approach to that because it's respectful.
Mm-hmm.
You choose, you know, what you choose, and I respect that as long as we don't, you know, have to go to war over it.
Yeah, exactly. And what my belief is that, you know, there's great books out there, you know, but I believe my life is my book. My life is my testimony, right? I have a beginning, I have a middle, and I have an end, right? And in all of those, you can see where there's a God that intervened in that. And so I'm a walking testimony. I truly believe that, right? And me and this pastor, we was talking the other day, and he was telling, you know, we was just, and he said, he started using the word cripple, right, when he was explaining about me, you know, cripple. And I told him, I said, man, I'm not crippled. And I said, I take real offense for you calling me crippled. I said, you may have got away with it when I was walking because I was stumbling over my own feet. I was walking into my own brick walls that I had made for myself. But today, Just because I don't have the ability to use my legs, right? I have my mind today. And that's what make me independent, and that will make me free, because I have choices that I do today, right? And I choose to go a different path than what I used to go. So I'm not crippled by far.
Absolutely, man. I gotta agree with that, and it's a self-limiting term.
Yeah, I do believe that, because like for me, it's the universe. I see signs in the universe that I learn from. Like our bodies are so connected to the universe that we don't see how connected we are. Like our body is 85% water, right? We have electricity. You know how you can touch something to shock you?
Yeah.
That's electricity in your body. You know, if you turn your hand over and you turned over a leaf, you got the same veins in your hands that's on the back of the leaf, right? And it's just so we look so well. I know I used to look so much for signs to come, you know, like don't do or do this, but it's all internal. It's all internal. It's your thinking. You have to change your thinking to become a better person. And I truly believe that, because I have a quote that I say sometimes, and it's Mother Nature and God was sitting on a stoop, and God was puzzled, and Mother Nature saw it in him, and she was like, "What's wrong?" He said, "You know, I think I gotta go away for a while." And she was like, "Wow, what's wrong?" He said, "Because these damn humans." He said, "I got miles of lines of humans outside of my house, and they keep coming to me, asking me questions. And if they don't figure it out themselves, they're never going to get the answer." So she said, "Well, where will you go?" He said, "Well," she said, "I know, you can go to the end of the earth." He said, "No, I can't go there because, you know, they'll find me." She said, "Well, won't you go to the bottom of the sea?" He said, "No, I can't go there because they're going to find me too." She said, "I know, go out of space." He said, "No, them nosy motherfuckers going to build something and they're going to come looking for me there too." So she said, "I don't know." And he just sat there. And he looked at her. He said, "I got it." She said, "What?" He said, "I go somewhere that they would never look to find me." And she said, "Where's that?" She said, "I'll go inside of them. They'll never look for me inside of them because they're so busy looking outside for all the things to make them feel better about themselves, to answer the questions that they need to answer. When the whole time, the answer's inside of them. All they have to do is look inside and they will find it."
And listen.
Yeah.
Right on. So you're in the hospital. They don't think you're going to make it.
No.
Your chances are slim and none.
Yeah, they told my mother that they don't think I was going to make it before the night because I wouldn't stop bleeding. You know, I wasn't bleeding like on the outside, but when they cut me open, it was like a gush of blood just shot all out on the floor, and they couldn't stitch me up at first because I wouldn't stop. So all they could do was just bandage me up and just lay me there, and hopefully I'll stop bleeding. But when they told my mother that, my mother had told them, say, "Well, if you done the best that you could do, right, the rest is up to him and God. Him and God got to have that conversation. We don't have nothing to do with that."
That's a great perspective because it's easy to get emotional and expect doctors and everybody else to fix the unfixable.
Yeah, the doctor's only limited.
So what happens after this, man? You were completely paralyzed when you first got shot, right?
Yeah.
And tell us take us down after that.
Okay. While I was in the hospital, once they kind of got me kind of under control by me being on my back for so long, and this was months, that I end up having what they call a decubitus ulcer on my behind, which is a bed sore.
Mm-hmm.
The technical term is decubitus ulcer, and I was catching infections. But during the time I was in the hospital, they eventually let me leave the hospital, right? Because, you know, my mother had the house down, so she had the room downstairs where she could put all my equipment and stuff in there, you know, and take care of me. But when I got home, I found out that my mother, cancer had came back. She didn't let me know when I was in the hospital. But when I came home, my mother had cancer in her mouth. And she had surgery and radiation and all. And it moved up to her brain, you know, while I was in the hospital. And I couldn't move, you know. I could feel like tingling in my shoulders, and I could move my head, but that as far as that I could go at the time. So, you know, things was getting bad, and I was laying in the bed one day. I was downstairs, and I heard something like fall upstairs. And I'm laying in the bed, and I'm like, Mother, Mom. And she was like, I fell. And I couldn't get up. I couldn't use the phone. I couldn't go upstairs to help her. And I felt so helpless. And I had a physical therapist that used to come in and you know, work on me and help me out because I couldn't bathe myself. I couldn't clean myself. And like I said, I had the sore at the time. And they used to come in and change my sore bandage. And she came in. I was like, can you go upstairs, check on my mother? She fell. And she went upstairs, and she ended up calling the ambulance. And they put my mother on the stretcher, gurney, and they was taking her down the steps, and I was sitting there, and I was looking at her. And I knew that moment, that was going to be the last time that I saw my mother alive. You know, when they took out that door, man, and then...
It's crazy, man.
Yeah. Then...
That's so heavy.
Like, a week or two later, I caught an infection. Like, because my brother, you know, my older brother, he's 10 years older than me. You know, he had his own habits that he was dealing with, too. Right? And he would come in and do whatever he could, and he would leave. And I ended up having to go to the hospital. Right? While my mother in the hospital fighting for her life, I'm in the hospital, I have an infection. And one night, the pastor or priest or whatever, he just came in there. He was like, man, I got bad news. And I knew what it was.
Yeah.
I knew what it was. And I cried, man. I cried and I cried, you know. And I had to leave the hospital to go to my mother's funeral. And,
okay.
Once the funeral was over, then they brought me back to the hospital. Right. And then, you know, by me still having this infection, I stayed in the hospital for a while. But then I ended up having to go to a nursing home.
Okay.
And while I was in the nursing home, all I could do was just lay in the bed all day long and watch television, right? And that was miserable. That was horrible. That was one of the most, not the most, but one of the depressingest times of my life. Because all I could do was just sit there and look up at TV all day and see the world and everybody laughing and playing and going to beaches or, you know, having parties or, you know, whatever it is that the world was doing. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to ever do that again. You know, at least medically, that's what I was told. Right?
And you just lost your mother.
Yeah.
In a terrible way. And
yeah.
So things are pretty rock bottom for you right now.
And not only did I just lose my mother, but while I was in the hospital, we lost the house. So I was homeless.
Oh, man.
I just got in a wheelchair, just lost my mother, just lost the house, had nowhere to go, and I was homeless. And, man, that was a rough time in my life, man. I look at it now, it was still rough. But I look at it differently today than I looked at it when I was in it. Right? But while I was in the nursing home, they used to have physical therapy every morning from, I think, like 8 to 9. And at first, they would come in there in my room and ask me if I wanted to do physical therapy. I was like, hell no, I don't want to do for what? I'm going to always be like this. This was my mentality. I'm going to always be like this. I'm not going in there and do this. And and do that, and it's not going to help any, you know. And man, it was just like one night, I was in the bed and I was asleep, and something whispered in my ear, and it said, if you do not fight for your life, you are going to die. You better fight for your life, because I did not raise a quitter. And my mother, she used to take these what's called Halls, menthol, cough things. She used to take them. She used to suck on them on a regular because she smoked cigarettes, and she was a supervisor where she worked there, so she didn't want people like smelling cigarettes on her breath.
Mm-hmm.
And when I woke up, you know, first I was looking around trying to figure out what I heard. Then I smelled Halls menthol cough drops in the air. I was like, was that my mama? You know, was that my mother? And I cried, and I cried. And cause I was like, what am I supposed to do? What am I gonna do?
How am I gonna fight?
Yeah, you know, what I got to fight with. Because, you know, when my mother died, that was my backbone. You know, that was the one person that I had in this world that I knew that loved me unconditionally, that was gonna be there for me through whatever I was going through, right? That they always gave me support, always gave me love from birth to the end, right, to her death. You know, I was like her number one priority. She made sure that I had, right, and that I never went without. So when she passed, it was like my world was already over. You know, when she left, my felt like my life, my spirit was lifted as well. You know, but when that morning, the physical therapist lady, she came in there, now 8 o'clock in the morning, and she like, Robinson. I was like, what? She said, your ass ain't gonna do no physical therapy this morning, is you? I said, yeah, I wanna do some. And she stopped in her tracks, cause she was on the way out the door, and she turned around, she looked, and she was like, well, Angel slapped you on the ass this morning, you know? And I said, well, I don't know, but I wanna go in there. So when I went in there, they had this rowing machine that you row with your hands, and they strapped my hands to the rowing machine, and one of the physical therapists just stood behind my elbows, and we just did this. We just did this for an hour. We just did this for an hour, just doing it for an hour. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I always had a little tingling in my shoulders, right? And so that went on for like a week, and during that process, I remember reading that your muscles have memory. So if you can, you know, I got in my mind that, all right, if I could think my muscles back into working, that they would start actually working. And that's what started happening. You know, by me working on the rowing machine, I started being able to like move my shoulders. And what I started doing, I said, you know what? I'm not gonna let them feed me anymore. I'm gonna learn how to feed myself. So when they used to bring my tray in, and they used to, cause at first they had to feed me, because mm-hmm. like I said, I was paralyzed from the neck down, so they had to feed me every day. So not only did they had to feed me, they had to clothe me, they had to bathe me, they had to change me, they had to pick me up out of the bed and put me in the wheelchair, and I told them, I said, no, you know what, I'm gonna feed myself. And they were like, no, not right now. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna feed myself. So they would strap the thing to my hand put the fork in it, you know, and I would just sit there and I would just like concentrate on moving my hand or moving, you know, getting some movement in my arms. And eventually it started working, but I wasn't getting the fork up to my mouth. it would get halfway and then it would fall all over me, and the nurses, they would be so upset, right? Because
then they gotta clean you up.
They would have to clean it up, right? They'd be like, "Just let us freeze," and I'd be like, "No," and then I used to get mad. Right? But when I was getting mad, that was making me motivated more, and then eventually, one day, man, the fork reached my mouth, and I hate Brussels sprouts, right? But those were the best Brussels sprouts, man, I had ever eaten, man, because I hadn't eaten in about a week, So I was like, damn, these Brussels sprouts good.
Yeah, you don't have many people say that.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like in the movies where I'm going to make this hand work.
Yeah, and then, once that started happening, I started getting on my stomach. And I started trying to do like little basic push-ups. Mm-hmm. Just do something to just get my head or my chest from off the mat. And I would do them, and eventually, I started like increasing, how I got up and how high I got up, until eventually I was doing regular push-ups. And it moved on from there. Then once I started doing that, then I started cleaning up myself. I started putting on my own clothes. I started because my main goal at first was just to get out of the bed and get into the wheelchair, right? So then I started, without any help, so then I started being able to do that. I started getting up out of the bed, getting into the wheelchair. And, going to therapy every morning. But while I was in bed, after therapy, I would always, do little small crunches, right? Do little, just whatever I could at the time, and eventually I was able to do regular crunches. I wasn't able to do like a sit up that sit me all the way up, but I was able to come up halfway, and what I was like lock. I was like, get my stomach locked, right? And in the process of me doing that, I got a great six-pack out of it. I didn't know that was happening. I wasn't doing it for. But like I said, I can remember when I read somewhere that they said that muscles have memory. And, I was working on, because I wanted to get back into a relationship, and at the time, by me being young, right, I didn't see myself like in a relationship with a female that I couldn't please sexually, right?
Gotcha.
And now I know there are women out there that, love you for you, but I didn't want. For me, sex is something that God give every human being, right? Well, majority of the human beings, right? And I didn't want to not allow her to have that privilege, right, on the basis of me, right? And I didn't want to have to be second guessing myself, is she cheating or this or that, I didn't want that involved in a relationship.
Absolutely.
But by me doing that, eventually, man, one morning, I just woke up and I just had to urinate. And I never had felt that feeling for about 18 months. And I was like, man, I got to urinate. What's going on? And when I looked down, man, things was happening. And that was like
progress.
Yes, and that was a great motivator for me as a man, right? As being a young man at that time.
Absolutely.
I was like, thank you, God. Right? And I said, God, if you can do this, I can do the rest. And then I ain't have to wear those big fluffy Pampers anymore.
So not only that, more independence.
Yes, it was more independence, right? I didn't have to wear those. And the commercials that I seen that like was men's underwear, that I was like, man, I sure wish I could be able to wear those one day. It was like for me to go in the store and to buy my first pair of underwear, man.
In what, 2 years?
Yeah. They're thinking that I was going to never be able to wear those anymore anyhow because I had no control over my bladder or how, use the bathroom. Man, that was an awesome feeling. You know, I mean, it might be something that you take for granted every day.
Absolutely.
You need some underwear, you go to the store and get some underwear, you don't think twice about it. But for me, at that particular time, man, that was the story. That was like one of the biggest accomplishments that I've had done in a long time. You know.
Nice. So this is kind of the lows when you're in that in the nursing home watching TV, not being able to do it. And this is kind of how we get back, the path you're coming back.
Yeah, it was the path that I was coming back. But guess what? Once again, I was only working on the physical.
Okay.
Because once I got out of the hospital, right, I went back into the same environment that I had just got shot at. The same people that I had just gotten shot around. The same activity that was going on when I left was still going on when I got there. So I got right back into the same lifestyle. Right? And I got back into it, and I ended up catching a federal case. Right? I ended up having to go to federal prison for a while. You know,
so this is your second round in prison.
Yeah, this was my second round. This was my first time in a wheelchair, right? But this was my second time. And not only that, like I said, when I was in the state, I was around a lot of people that I had grew up with. When I got in the federal system, they flew me all the way to Texas. And when I got in Texas, it was like 1,500 people in this prison, and I didn't know anybody. For the first time, again, well, not the first time, but again, I was alone and by myself. And I was like, man, I didn't want to be in Texas. And I was like, man, what am I going to do? But the thing about it, when I got there, it was a camp, which was a medical facility. And they had other guys there that was in a wheelchair.
Okay.
Right? So by us having like a common wheelchair thing together, we grew to each other. You know, like we worked out together, we fought together, we played basketball together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we slept in the same dorm together, we ate together, we done everything together. So, you know, some things that, and this is where I learned this at, some things that I could discuss with them about and felt real comfortable with it, I couldn't, you know, like discuss with a normal individual, because I didn't know if you could understand what I was going through. Like I knew that they could understand, because they might was going through the same thing when it came to relationships, you know, when it came to certain bowel movements, you know, when it came to just being in a wheelchair in general, going through depression, you know, we could understand, we could throw it off on one another.
Yeah.
You know, and I got in there, you know, still working on the physical though, working out, you know, and eating right, you know. And the thing, when I get locked up, I don't smoke cigarettes, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't do none of that distraction stuff, right? Because I want to come home. So, you know, I do what I have to do for my physical and all, and then I come home. And then I came home, right? I came home, and I told myself, I said, you know what, I ain't gonna sell drugs no more, you know, but I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna get high one more time. Because I owe this to myself. You know, like when you be gone for so long, you feel like, man, you owe this to you. All right, so I'm gonna just do this one more time, and then I'm gonna start on with this life, right? That I said that I'm gonna do. Right, the whole time I was locked up, just lip service. I said I'm gonna do this when I get home. I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna do this one more time. And when I do anything, it always never fails that I'm always going back, you know, into a life of crime. And I did it for the first time, and it was like me running into an old girlfriend, right, that I hadn't seen in years, and we hook up, and she know how I like to feel, right? She know what to do to make me feel better. She captivate my mind, my body. She captivate my soul, right? And that one turned into two. then that 2 turned into 3, then that 3 turned into 4,
Right
and then
back.
the next thing you know, I'm right back at it. And then I'd be sitting there kicking myself, like, how in the hell did I get myself in this relationship again? Right? Know what she did or what it did to me the first time. Here I am right back at it again. You know. So I end up getting some bad dope. Man. I remember going in the house, right? And I remember going into my room. And this is another thing. When I got the dope, I was going over North Side, and I seen a friend of mine, a childhood friend, we grew up together. And I asked him where he was going. He told me, I'm going to get some dope. So I said, all right, I want to get some too. So we go get it. He said, all right, you want to go to my house? I said, no, because I got to catch the bus, so I'm going to go home. And I'm going to do it when I get home, so I ain't got to worry about it wearing off by the time I get home or anything like that. I could do what I need to do. And he was like, all right. So he went home. I got on the bus. I went home. While I was in the house, next thing I know, I woke up in the back of an ambulance. And the EMS, it was standing over top of me, and it was saying, like, welcome back. I was like, welcome back? Where did I go? They said, you had died. I'm like, what do you mean I died? I'm like, yeah, you OD'd. The dope that I had fentanyl in it.
Ah.
Right? Yeah, and my friend named Tisha, she came in the room and found me spread out on the floor, right? And she called it the ambulance, and I ended up going to the hospital. From the hospital, I went to this drug program called a Healing Place. Right? I had to go through the detox thing. End up in the detox for like 7 days. But on the 3rd day while I was there, because I was still like physically sick because I had a dope habit, so I was laying in the bed, for the most part of them 3 days. And I seen somebody put a picture. They got a board in their detox facility. On the top it got, for those who knew but didn't believe. That was people that had went through that drug program before. And they knew the consequences, but they did it. And it's got pictures of them, the ones that had passed away.
Okay, so people that had died,
yeah,
that had come through
and
there before.
The board was plenty of people on there. And I seen them put a picture up on the wall. And I'm laying in the bed, and I keep looking at this picture. I keep looking at the picture. And it's like I can remember it, but I eventually get up and I go to the board and I look at the picture. You remember the guy I was telling you about that me and him had got the dope together?
Yeah.
He went home, right, and he did his dope. And he OD'd, and he wasn't nobody there for him to find him. So they found him like 3 days later in his house dead.
My God.
Yeah. I went home, got the same dope, right? And I went home and got this, and the same dope did it. But my friend Tisha was there to find me.
Mm-hmm.
Was them coincidence? No, bro. That wasn't a coincidence. That it scared me. Because I knew that I didn't want to kill myself. So I was in the program. I told him I was going to complete the whole program, which is a 6 to 9 month program. And while I was there, my parole officer found out that I had overdosed and had used, so I violated my probation. So they end up coming in there after I've been there for about a month. Right? They end up coming in there, locking me up. But I end up going to where did I go to? I think of it in a minute. The facility that I went to, and they gave me 12 months in a day. So I end up having to go there. I stayed there 10 months. Right? And while I was there, I think in about the 8th month, I started just, like reliving my life. I was just laying on my bunk and I was just reliving my life. Like, where did I go wrong? What did I do? How could I do this better? And I came up with the decision that I was going to write the healing place and ask them, could I come back? And this was the first time that I had actually made that step, because I had been in penitentiaries and jails before and had the opportunity to go to a drug program, but I choose not to, because I was like, man, I've been locked up for so long now, I got it. You know, I don't need their assistance. I got this now.
Yeah.
Right? But at this time, I was like, man, I got to do something different. Because if I don't, I knew that my life was going to depend on it. Right? And I felt that I was going to die if I didn't. Right? And I had to make some decision changing. So I wrote them. They wrote me right back. They was like, sure, you're welcome. You can come right on back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the day you get out, you just come on in. And that's what I did. The day that I got out, I went straight there. And
instead of the one more day.
I couldn't do the one more no more, because that was like, it's two things in my life that has never failed me. Like people have failed me. Situations failed me, circumstances failed me. But doing that one thing, doing it one more time, I always go back down, man. I always end up doing 2, 3, 4, right, and catching a habit. That has never failed.
100%.
100%. Never failed me. And the second thing that's never failed me is God. You know, when I look over my life, God has never failed me. You know, through His, I say His grace and His mercy, I'm here to be able to have this interview with you today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no matter what might have felt when I was going through it, right, I can look back over it today and see that, damn, a whole lot of people didn't make it out of that, or wouldn't have made it out of that. You know, so it had to be some grace and mercy spared on my life, you know, from a divine intervention.
Given the circumstances, I think you had to have at least some kind of help.
Oh yeah, most definitely, because I couldn't do it on my own, right? And I love my family. You know, I have a big family in Richmond, and I love them. And when I was going through the situations that I was, you know, I used to always think like they shied away from me. They didn't care about me. They didn't love me, right? But today I see it totally different, because it wasn't them that shied away from me. It was me, because I was in the grips of something that didn't want to be around nothing else. Always had my mind, my body, and my spirit focused on one thing, and that's just to get one more, right? And when I look at my family, it's hard, man, for somebody that you truly love and genuinely care about, and watch them do the things to their self that hurt and could destroy them, right? To watch me go through the things that I went through, I knew it had to be hard on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I see the best thing that they could have done is what they did. They loved me from afar. They allowed me to go through the things that I had to go through to get to where I'm at today. You know, because they didn't have the power to intervene. You know, all the words that they could have spoke at that time, it wouldn't even made no difference. All I wanted was a couple of hours so I can go get me one more. You know, so you know, they had to let God do His work. And they just had to sit back and watch and pray, man. You know? Yeah.
So I'm just going to say, you're kind of one of the poster boys for the healing place at Caritas, for, you know, the people that have had massive success programs come through that. So talk a little bit about Caritas and what they do. I had Megan Wilson on the show a couple of weeks ago, and she went into it. But from your, you know, that's from her perspective. So from your perspective, what is it to you?
Okay, let me talk about before I got into Caritas. When I was at the healing place drug program, 6 to 9 month program, that main focus on get you to think differently, right? If you think differently, you'll act different, right? And that was something that I had grasped in the beginning, because I knew my thinking was messed up, right? Because how could I, you know, call myself such a conscious thinker, but I'm always getting in these situations that's detrimental to my health, right? So I knew that I had to grasp on it. Then they had what you call a 12-step spiritual program, right? It's 12 steps. It's the Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous 12-step philosophy, right? And I grasped hold of that, and I learned that listening to people and reading, that what I had to do wasn't about being on the physical level. It was about on the spiritual level, right? So I had to go inside of myself, right, and find out who that I really was. You know, not the image that I portrayed when I was in a certain culture, so I had to be this certain person so wouldn't nobody take advantage of me, but who that I was truly and really was, and who I was born to be. You know, so I started grasping, I started, looking at, my actions, stop blaming other people, stop using excuses for, if you'd have been in my position, you'd have got high too. You'd have used drugs, you'd have been depressed, whatever the case may be. I just started having to take some responsibilities for the actions that I was taking, right? And when I started doing that, I started trying to. I was getting like a better concept of who I was, and I was like, man, I'm really a loving and caring person, because when I'm sober and I got a clear mind, I care about other people. But it's when the drugs get involved that cloud my thought and cloud my vision and cloud my heart, that have me doing actions that I regret later on.
Yep.
I sit here and be like, damn, how I get myself here again. And I ain't want to keep telling myself or asking myself, how did I get here again? So I knew that I had to figure out, why was I getting in situations, or why was I putting myself in circumstances that I was always like, man, not again. Why? So that program, man, what it had taught me was, like I said, it had to be an inside job, right? If you want peace, you gotta find it inside, right? Not with the Cadillacs, or not with the pretty girls, not with the gold chains or the money. That don't bring you peace, right? It might bring you happiness for a little while, right? But after a while, you're gonna get tired of that, right? And then I found out that when you're working on yourself, right, you get isolated. Right? Some, people that used to knowing you a certain way, they look for you to always be this certain way. But when you're trying to work on yourself, then you get people that want to talk about you, who want to stab you in your back, want to say you're weird, you think you better than,
right?
And that's not the case. You just trying to change, because everything has to change. Right? If you stay the same, only thing stay the same is death. Right? So you have to evolve to change. Right? So I found myself being by myself a lot. That get frustrating sometimes, because like I said, I still want to fit in. I still want to belong. But I just like, that's not where I want to fit in at anymore. That's not where I want to belong. So, I just chose the path that I chose. And then, once I did my commits before that, once you get to like a certain part of the healing place, you're done with the healing place, you go to with a 5-week program, which is called the Caritas work program, right? And they have counselors there, like Miss Marilyn, Vicky, and John, and they and another guy named David. Great people, man. Loving and caring. Want you to strive, want you to be better, productive. And what they do, they help you get back in the workforce. Right? They help you start, finding jobs. They teach you how to, and this was all brand new for me, right? Because I'm a product, at that time, I'm a product of the streets, right? I'm a product of prison. I didn't know about a 30-second elevator speech. I didn't know about a resume or how to fill out an application.
Use a computer.
Definitely didn't. I didn't come up in the computer era, right? So, but what they done, they put computers. Everybody had a computer, and they knew that I didn't have those skills, but they set me beside a younger guy that come up in the computer era, and he could, man, like type without even looking, and you know, I'd be one fingering it, and you know, I get frustrated.
Hunting peck.
Yeah, and he helped me out. You know, he was like, "No, you do it like this, man. You do it like this," and they would see where I would get frustrated at times, and they would be like, "You know what? Just close the computer and go outside and catch your breath, get yourself together, and then come on back in. We gonna get it, right?" And they taught me how to do all those things, man. They taught me how, like I said, to do my 30-second elevator speech, my resume, do my application, how to go on the computer and, you know, look for jobs and post, and you know that was a great program, man. You know, I recommend those two, the Healing Place and Caritas, to anybody that's trying to better themselves. You know?
And I think you're a testimony to those programs of, you know, what they can bring people from and what they can bring people to.
Yeah.
It's quite a thing, quite an organization they have down there.
Yeah.
So,
I every time they call me to go, you know, sometimes they have, you know, where they want you to speak. Like I just did an interview with Megan for some news. They were doing like a documentary for.
Yep.
The,
I heard about that.
Yeah, you know, and they called me. They was like, "You want?" I was like, "Of course." You know, cause they saved my life, so I owe them. Because if it wasn't for them, I really don't believe that I'll be doing what I'm doing today. You know, because and not only that, but they hooked me up with people, like with Mark England.
Yep.
Right. You know, they hooked me up with him. You know, and you know, great guy. We know him. You know, that's how we got connected, was through Mark.
Yep.
You know, and you know, I owe them a lot for that.
Yeah, and so Mark is an accomplished, you know, speaker, well-known coach.
Yeah.
Using the power of language. And when he heard you speak, he said you were a natural. He knew you had something about you. And for him to say that really means something. It's not just like, oh, I really enjoyed his speech. Somebody who is versed in language and positivity had just great things to say about you.
And the thing about that was the commencement speech, that, you know, it's not, they don't call it a graduation, but that's after you finish the Caritas, the 5 week. You know, they give you a certificate and stuff, and everybody get to do a 3-4 minute speech. And I just did mine off the top of my head. They had a Muhammad Ali poster on the wall, and I did it off of that. And Mark wasn't even supposed to be there. He didn't come to hear me speak. Actually, I think he came to see somebody else, but he was just in the wrong building.
Well, I think Brian Muka invited him, and he thought Brian was speaking. So when he got there, and it was all these other people speaking, and then
and then I was the
you
last.
spoke, and he was like,
"Yeah, was that a coincidence?" I don't think so. You know, that was a divine intervention that connected me up with him, right? That helped me go on my path that I'm on today. You know, because when I had gotten back, I never even knew Mark, right? And that was on a Friday. When I got back that Monday, Miss Marilyn, she would say, "Paris, I got a call, and I had a conversation about you." And I'm like, I was like, "A conversation about me?" I'm like, "Well, I ain't on probation no more. You know, I don't owe no child support." So, you know, and she was like, "No, I won't nothing." Like, cause that's what I'm used to conversations being about me. And she's like, "No, you know, this guy that was there that heard your commencement speech, and he want to meet you. He, you know, told me his name, like, you know, he go around and speak all over the world." And I'm like, "He want to speak with me?" She was like, "Yeah." He was impressed. I was like, "Wow."
Yeah. So that leads you to kind of where your new career and your new kind of path is now, which is speaking motivationally and speaking as a coach.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that and how that's going.
It's a process. You know, it's been in the work since February of this year, right? So it's a process, and you know, it's becoming better. You know, I've spoke at a few events, some synopsis events. You know, like I said, I still go down to the Caritas and speak at some of the events. I go still do the healing place. I go and do classes for them at 3 o'clock, sometimes on Tuesdays. And I've done a few more podcast interviews. I got something coming up with, I forgot the name of that gym. What's the name?
Oh, is it the CrossFit gym that Mark? I don't know the name of it.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. Mark told it to me, and he wants me to have the two of the owners on.
Yeah, great people, man. I spoke there.
Okay.
And they got an event coming up. They want me to speak for them. You know, I just did a documentary on a movie a guy was doing.
I saw that.
Yeah, man, that's gonna be awesome. Right, my first movie, man. Denzel, watch out, I'm on my way.
Equalizer 3.
Yeah, I will roll up. You know.
So everything's in motion and it's in the works.
Yes.
And it's not something that happens overnight, obviously.
No.
But you seem to be on the path, which is awesome.
Yes, and it allows me, you know, to stay in position, right? Because it's not happening overnight, and it allowed me to also deal with some demons, because I still have some crazy thoughts sometimes, right? Because sometimes my money don't be coming in fast enough. You know, the bills getting, you know, over top each other, you know, and I go back to, man, maybe if I go, then I'm like, no, I don't want to mess up what I got. So that I keep that up front too, right? I keep like my pain up front, what I went through, so I won't have to go back to that, right? And I keep up what's ahead, right? Like, man, if I stay on this course, man, it's going to get better. I just have to believe. If I believe, then I can achieve, right? And so what I do, I just lie there. I'm like, that's all right. I know it's going to get better. I know it's going to get better. And it is. You know, it's just a step. It's not, you know, well, I put my hands in it and I want to rush it. It don't happen like that. Everything happen in God's time, you know, and I'm a true believer in that. So, you know, I just do whatever I can do, you know, to make extra money until it progress. Like, you know, my web page coming up. You know, we got the Instagram thing, Paris Robinson 1195. I've had you know, I've been had Facebook. You know, so you know, it's a process, man.
Yeah, and I think once we get the website up for you, that's going to help you.
Yeah, you helping me with the website.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, and
man.
it's my pleasure, man, because it's just a, you know, get a chance to give back here and there as much as I can. With a web company, it's not the easiest thing to plug in, but when I get an opportunity like yours, I definitely try to take it. So what do you see, you know, end game? What do you see, you know, in 5 years you doing?
Wow.
What would you, you know?
For me,
what's that vision like? I mean, you know, best case scenario. Which is what you should expect.
I expect great things to happen, right? But I don't look for a lot of like material things to come through, because that's not what I'm about today. You know, what all I want to do, man, I just want to like help people, and I don't want to be put in a box, like to say, well, you know, he's in a wheelchair, you know, you know, he's an recovering addict. So we just gonna let him talk to people that have addiction. Nah, you know,
I gotcha.
I coach everyday people, you know, going through problems. Your pain might not have been as great as my pain was, or the things that I went through, but pain is pain, right? I can't say, you know, I can't put a scale on your pain. What's your pain from 1 to 10, right? Pain is pain. Everybody has pain. Nobody escapes pain. I don't care how much money you was born in, you know, or how poverty you was born into. Everybody has pain. You know, I like to talk to doctors, you know, that's dealing with people with disabilities, that's, you know, don't really know how it actually feels to go through depression, or to be told that you will be in this position for the rest of your life. You know, I like to talk to at-risk youth. You know, like I said earlier, your decisions that you make today could haunt you or hurt you for the rest of your life. You know, whether it be male or female. Because you have females, you know, that get to a certain age and they start to blossom and bloom, and you have little boys that see it or or older guys that see it, and they flock to them, right? And they tell them nice, sweet, beautiful things in their ear, and next thing you know, they wind, by the choices that they make, they may wind up pregnant, right? And then they have to deal with that for the rest of their life, the child for the rest of his life or her life, you know. You know, ministries, you know, like I say, I'm not the most religious person, but I am a very spiritual person,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So my purpose is if I can, my story, because I don't have a lot of like alphabets, I don't have a PhD, I don't have a master's and all that behind my name, but my experiences that I have, right? Sometimes, you know, and if you feel like you are divinely awoken or awakened, right? The prophets didn't have any masters or PhDs behind their name, and look how they changed the world.
Yeah.
Right. You know, so if God sets you on a path, right, and you choose to do that path, you know, to help people, because by helping you, I help myself. You know, then you know, it's the opportunities are unlimited. That's
Yeah.
what I say.
I hear you. I like, you know, don't pigeonhole you into one type of person or group to speak to.
Yeah.
Because you know, your testimony and your story is, especially like the at-risk youth. That's so important. Like,
yeah.
they're seeing one thing, they're seeing, you know, somebody that's doing all right now, but they don't see on the other side.
Yeah.
And somebody like you who's should be dead multiple times.
Yeah. And the thing about that, man, the youth of the day, man, I'm being so blinded by Hollywood, by the things that they see on TV, the glamorous life, right?
Music.
Yeah, music, the reality shows, right? And it blind them and it attracts them, but they're promoting a lie, right? Because these people are not happy, right? And they don't tell them the end game of that, right? They don't tell them like what come with the car, right? What come with, you know, living this type of lifestyle, what come with doing this, and then probably 98% of the people that's on records talking about shoot 'em up, bang bang, this and all that, they lying in the hair, you know, because if they wasn't there, you can't put that out no how. That's conspiracy. They kill everybody in the community. All the stuff they talk about killing, right? And you know, but man, yeah, I just like, you know, like the youth that's coming up in inner cities, right? That's finding themselves getting attracted to certain things. Right? Just look at it for what it really is. Right? Cause the lie gonna dress itself up real nice. It's gonna dress itself up to attract you. Because if it wasn't, then you wouldn't even get involved in it. Because you'll see it for what it really is, right? Which is a lie. It dresses itself up like it's the truth.
That is the absolute truth, my man. And that's a good way to put it. The lie dresses itself up to be much better than it really is.
Yeah.
You do that to yourself. You convince yourself it's the okay thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just be careful, man. Just watch how you think. You know, because we could trick ourselves up in our own head too, and we can become our own worst enemy because of the way we choose to think. Right? And if I don't have something, because sometimes I think of some stuff, and if I don't have somebody like Mark or you or my girlfriend or somebody to bounce it off, it might make sense to me. But you'll be like, come on, Paul, that don't make no sense at all, man. You know, and then once I sit there and think about it, I'm like, you know what, he right. That really don't make no sense. But it dressed itself up to look like it makes sense, right? You know, but they say the mind has waves, and on this side, you know, you differentiate the truth, and on this side you differentiate a lie, but when they intertwine and you cannot tell the truth from the falsehood, right? That's what they call that. I forgot what they call it, but it's a mental phenomenon, right? Where you can't differentiate one from another, you know. And that's when you need people in your life to help you, that support you.
Check that.
You know? Oh yeah, yeah, we all do. World too big to be in by yourself. You know.
Yeah, we weren't meant to be by ourselves.
Nah.
And live in solidarity. That's just how it is. So man, you're just one of those people that when I get around them, I'm just all out of excuses, and I really love that. Like, and I need that because, you know, and I think it's easy for everybody to be like, oh well, I got this going on and I got that going on, and you just get level checked by somebody like you, where you're like, man, you are mulling over some petty and crappy stuff that really, in the big picture, means nothing. So I always find that inspiring when I can be around people like you, and I come to talk to you. And the couple times I've been around you, and I just, I walk away going, I just feel refreshed. I feel like I've got a new slice on what's going on in my life. So I mean, so whether it comes out of your mouth or not, it's inspiring to be around you, man.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the time that you've spent with me.
Thank you.
And, it's even hard to wrap my brain around everything that you've been through because I came up much differently.
Mm-hmm.
I got into my own trouble, but I skirted a lot of stuff, It's probably from the choices that I had versus choices that you had. And it's, I just haven't even begin to think about the stuff that you've gone through. And so it's just amazing that you've come out on the other side and you've taken that and turned it into something positive and something that you can influence others with. So I just commend you on that.
Thank you.
And that's why really I do the pro bono stuff for people like you.
Yeah.
That because the end result is positivity.
Yeah.
You are making a career out of this, and you are going to influence God knows how many people. Mark said he spoke in front of, was it 6,000 or 60,000 people so far?
Yeah.
Look at all the people he's been able to influence. Yeah. I see the same kind of thing for you. So to be a part of that is, important to me. And that's why, whatever. So with that said, man, do you have any events or upcoming speeches or anything you like that you want to mention?
Nothing in the near future. Sometimes I might get a call tomorrow or get a call today when I leave here, would you do an event for me? Do an event, but for now, I mostly, well, not mostly, but if people celebrating in drug programs or they celebrating a year, they have what they call celebrations. They'll ask me to come and speak.
Mm-hmm.
I go there and I speak for them, on their behalf, But I would just like to say, man, I read something a while back, and there's certain quotes and there's certain things that I read sometimes that stick to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I read this thing. I don't know what book it was in, or they say excuses. Excuses are tools of incompetence built by monuments of nothingness, that bridges that lead to nowhere, and those who partake in them seldom ever partake in anything else. Excuses.
Yeah. They're useless.
Yeah.
They're useless, but it's so easy to, oh, well, I don't feel good. I don't,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I got a little bit of a headache today. I'm not on my game, especially when you're self-employed.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
It's
right?
easy to talk yourself into it, man. So I feel you on that, man. You're part of the documentary that Caritas is doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when that's coming out, but that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know when that's coming out either, but I know that the movie, the guy that hasn't named the movie yet, but the trailer for that come out the end of this month.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get that up on your website when it comes out.
Yeah.
So any other shout outs, man?
No, man, I just, man, grateful, man, and had the opportunity that you invited me here.
Absolutely.
Especially when you used to do it on another day, and you was like, Paris, I rearranged my schedule, man, for you to come in.
Oh, man, that's no big deal, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
No problem, man.
I really do,
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. So that's it, folks, and I appreciate everybody for listening, and thank you for coming on the show, Paris. Man, it was a pleasure. Love your story, man, and Everybody have a positive.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
I just want to give a shout out to my guy, man. This is another walking testimony. Raymond Neher, inner city youth basketball. This guy, man. Me and him was locked up together.
Okay.
And he's making an impact. He used to play for Virginia Union basketball.
So so that's 10th annual. Is that going on right now?
No, this was during the summertime, but he still had these events.
Okay.
You know, and I just wanted to.
Do you know any dates or anything of any upcoming events he has going on, or?
No.
So do you usually run it in the summer?
Yeah, he usually run it in the summer, you know, and I see him all the time.
Nice.
So I just wanted to let him know, man, that I support him.
Absolutely, you got the shirt on, man.
Yeah, that's right.
For the hundreds of people watching.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, yeah. All right, man. Again, so everybody have a positive, productive day, man, and thank you.
Thank you.